Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Faith Stories. Today, I have someone with me that years ago a story resonated with me, and I just haven't forgotten about it. It just really reverberates the faithfulness of God and how God takes us through moments of, I will say, not being comfortable to birth something so great, to tell stories of his faithfulness to everyone around. So join me in welcoming, I call her Mrs. Ashafa. Join me in welcoming Mrs Fadekemi Ashafa. Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was thinking, Faith Stories is such a wonderful opportunity and a great platform. Thank you for inviting me.
So we'll just start by, we want to meet you. We want to get to know you as a person before hearing your testimony. Um, who is Fadekemi, or for short, I saw Kemi on your profile. So who is Kemi
Yeah,
as a
you can go
person?
with Kemi.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kemi is easier to call.
I
So my name
know.
is Fadekemi Ashafa, a daughter. The second of four kids. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm an author. I'm an artist. I'm also an engineer. So
Hmm.
I wear many hats. I've been privileged to do the things I'm able to do. Mm-hmm.
Wow. There's some profiles that we hear about that. I'm like, God, what am I doing with my life?
You're
But bless
fine.
God. We bless God to the many sides of the calm Mrs. Ashafa, We will bless God for that. Okay, so before your faith journey started, how was your relationship with God? How did you find God? Were you raised in a Christian home? Just tell us a little bit about your background and your journey with God.
Yeah, so I was raised in a Catholic home, and I felt that the way to find God was to do a lot of stuff, a lot of just continue to do good, follow the rules. And I'd been a very curious person from as far as I could remember.
Mm.
So I was the first to start catechism in my house, the first to do the first Holy Communion. I was in this pursuit, of finding God and being, in quote, good, so that He might love me or maybe know me more, because that was all I knew. Fast forward, secondary school, we were placed in the boarding house. And one fateful day, I went into the box room. The box room is this dark room that everybody dumps their boxes. And I found a book. The book was a very tattered book. It was torn everywhere, front and back. It was very old. But because I loved reading, I was a voracious reader. I picked it up and I was like, what is this? And I started reading it. Unknown to me was the Bible. I've never seen one before, so I didn't know what it was. I just kept on reading and it fascinated me so much. I'm
Mm.
still fascinated by it till today. You know, I was reading about the stories of people I've never heard of before. And something else happened, during our siesta, there was this compulsory time where all the students had to jump on their beds and sleep in the afternoon. I wasn't much of a sleeper. So I used that time to sort of like talk to this person I was reading about. I was just laying in my bed and I'll say, God, are you there? If you are there, this is how my day went, and that became the best part of my entire day. So I started having this relationship with someone bigger than me, and I still didn't know much. So one day I decided to follow the other students to a Protestant church, and on a Sunday, and there was an altar call. and I stepped out for the altar call. And every Sunday after that, there was an altar call. I stepped out for the altar call again. I didn't know, nobody taught me otherwise. I just thought every Sunday I have done something terrible. Let me go for the altar call, And that was eventually how I began to learn and know more about God, and that continuous fellowship has been something that has been a bedrock for me. I've always known from the beginning that God was there. He heard me, he listened to me, was closer than I could imagine. So that was my journey about how I became a Christian and how I found um, Christ.
Wow. You know, when you mentioned God, are you there? That's like the most simple, the most purest way. I don't know anybody that is listening to this, and you're trying to figure out how to communicate with God. This is a way. It's just like talking to a friend. God, are you there? If you're there, this is how my day went. Ah, wow. Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that.
It's that talking part has always stayed with me. And
Mm,
that's just like you said, like talking to a friend. That is how I know how to do prayer, you know. Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so now we're ready to hear your testimony. Tell us about, as they would say in church, tell us about what God did.
Yeah, so
But more
uh,
importantly, I also want you to highlight your part in the process.
okay.
Yeah.
Let me I've been thinking a lot about this. So some years fast forward, I met the man of my dreams and I got married in 2010. And then I I remember during our traditional wedding, there was a traditional and the white. During the traditional wedding, the Alaga Duro and the Alaga Joko, you can translate that, started a song. They found out that my husband was a twin, and they now started this song and had everybody chorusing it. They will say, she will not give birth to twins alone. No. She will give birth to, they had everybody multiplying by 2. So 4, 6, 8, 10, and they went on, and everybody was singing, you know. And I said that to say this, from that day, the pressure was on, you know. As an African, it is expected of you to start producing babies after you get married. It was in the conversations, it was in the meetings, it was in the office. You couldn't get away from it. And for me, the first year went nothing. The second year went, it wasn't like I was pregnant and I had a miscarriage. No, nothing. The third year, the fourth, and then the fifth. Throughout these years, it was tough. It was very hard. I still remember how tough and hard it was, just going through each month, seeing your period, and then the tears come rolling. Another month again, the same thing. And of course, we started visiting hospitals, fertility clinics, running all these tests over and over again, spending so much money, and going through the process. The process is not only physically straining, it's also emotionally draining. You know, this is several years ago, and it's still stuck in my mind. The things that we had to go through. And having visited so many hospitals, what they were saying is that, Madam, be patient. Madam, there's nothing wrong with you and your husband. Madam, baby will come, don't worry. And this was the 5th year. There was nothing. In between, my parents-in-law were very supportive. They were always praying for us. My mom, on the other hand, that was where the biggest pressure was coming from. At that time, I didn't know that she was undergoing her own. There was some kind of pressure she was undergoing. I might be able to touch on that later. And then she started listening to all these radio programs about fertility, and she'll go to all the seminars and they'll be wondering, what is this old woman looking for here? What came out of that, and while I talked about, is that she got information about a certain doctor and introduced my husband and I to him. He was a Christian, and that doctor was really very good at what he does. And so we began to consult with him. He was the first person in 5 years that told us what the problem was. And that day was a bittersweet day because at least finally they could identify what was wrong. And what was wrong was that my cervix was inverted. And he explained that that was the most extreme case of that kind of issue he has seen. And that explained why I had not even been pregnant at all. In his words, nothing can pass through. It was that bad. And then apart from it being inverted, it was pushed to the left side of my womb. And so it wasn't something that could be corrected. That day, that evening, he gave us three very terrible news. He explained that to us, the inversion. He also explained that the first thing, that there was no way we could have children naturally. Secondly, he explained that even though if by some artificial means we had children, there was no way I could carry the baby to full term. The baby will have to come out before time. And thirdly, there was no way I could have a natural birth because of the position of the cervix. That would be too dangerous, that we should not even think about it. So I remember getting back home that day, and fine, we finally know what is going on, what was wrong. But everything he talked about was devastating. And he had advised that we start immediately with these different procedures. The first one he suggested was artificial insemination, and we started. The process for that too was not fun. They had to do something like ovulation mapping, and that involved me going to do a scan almost every day. So I worked in VI, and then I'll have to drive. So the clinic he gave, for us to do the scanning was a clinic, a lab opposite Anike in Ikeja. So I have to face Adiola Deku traffic, face Third Mainland traffic, and then head towards Anike almost every day. I think it was almost every day. And what made it worse was that I had to have a full bladder. So I'll be stuck in Ikeja traffic and I am about to go. It was so frustrating. It was, oh my God. Then right after that, every day we will now go to his clinic for the consultation. And it was in Mafoluku area around that Jawa Estate, Airport Road. So we will drive all the way back at that end. Then at the end of the day, we'll now head back home. Home was Bagada.
Wow.
It was not fun. And I remember at the end of that session, the session failed. And for the first time in a long time, my husband and I, we just got overwhelmed by everything. We've been doing all these things, all these tests home and abroad, here and there. For the first time, I just broke down and I said, you know what? I don't think I can continue anymore. I don't think I can go on with all these things, the test and everything. I can't. And apparently he had been feeling the same way. He said that this one was just like what broke the camel's back. And that day we prayed together and we said, God, we are tired. God, we believe in you. We know that all things are possible. But even if we don't have any child, you are still God. We still choose to serve you. We want to enjoy our life. Enough is enough. It have do. And it was a very simple prayer, but it was a prayer that lifted up the burdens of our shoulders. There was one more thing we had to do. We had to, to drive down to my mom's home and tell her the decision. I needed to tell her because she was monitoring everything. She will call me, Fadeka, have you taken your drugs? Fadeka, your appointment is today. Fadeka, have you gone? Have you left the office? Fadeka, are you there right now? She was so concerned and she was monitoring everything. And I remembered seeing her in tears. It broke my heart. And I said, Mommy, please, don't call me about this matter again. Call me or visit me or I love you very much. I love to see you, but let's not talk about this matter again. And in tears, she honored my word and she would not ask me about it. That was sometime in January, February-ish. I didn't give up. I trusted God. And sometimes around that period, my faith rose. I'd been meditating on several scriptures. One of them is Psalm 127 and verse 3, where it says that children are the heritage of the Lord, and his reward the fruit of the womb. I love the Message translation. The Message translation actually asks the questions. He says, can't you see that children are God's best gift? Oh, I ate that word. I would ask myself that question over and over and over again. And I'll say, if children are God's best gift, it means that cars and houses are not his best gifts. It means that anything else cannot surpass the gift of a child. And I would think about it, and there was another scripture with it that asked in James 1 verse 17, every good and perfect gift comes from the Lord. So I'll take that to God and I'll say, God, I want this your best gift. The best of the best is the one I want. If good gifts come from you, that means you can give me this gift. I would think about it, I would pray about it. And then there was Isaiah 54. Oh my God. It was targeted at, at the barren woman. That scripture says, sing, oh barren woman. For God is turning things around. It says, and make your tent large, make room for your growing family. And I'll say to myself, yes, my family is growing. He says that you have more children than the woman that has been having children. Those words encouraged me. It's made me very excited. And then I kept on going to check. I kept on going to this lab to do a medical test. I just believed that I was pregnant, even though I could not see my baby. I know it sounds really weird, but there was a time I was going through some of my files and I saw a lot of those tests. I will just bring it back. It was negative. I was like, I believe I have my baby. So sometimes in April, I saw my period again, but this time instead of crying, I rose up in faith. I said, no, this period, reverse yourself, go back, dry up. Those were my words.